everybody, my name is Nicole Byram. I am the Health Promotions Manager and Dietitian with the Canadian Celiac Association. This is my daughter, Julie. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Jules.
I was diagnosed with celiac disease when I was 5 years old and have been great with it ever since.
Good. So today we are going to be making pumpkin bread or pumpkin loaf, whatever you want to say, and welcome to our kitchen.
Welcome.
So today we're going to need some very specific ingredients. Of course, in every good pumpkin loaf, you are going to need pumpkin. So I have just used canned pumpkin today. Of course, if you grow pumpkin and wanted to cook it and mash it yourself, you are more than welcome to do that as well. This is two cups of pumpkin. We are going to need 4 eggs. We are going to need 2/3 of a cup of water, which I will get. We are going to need 3/4 of a cup of flour. We are going to need 2 teaspoons of baking soda, 3 cups of sugar, and then a mixture of spices, 1.5 teaspoons of cinnamon, 1.5 teaspoons of nutmeg, 1 teaspoon of cloves, 1 teaspoon of ginger, and 1.5 teaspoons of salt. So we're going to get all that rolling.
Yeah.
And we're going to start by taking our eggs and we're going to beat them until they are frothy. So Jules, I'm going to let you do that. We've got our beater all set up over there. I'm going to crack the eggs in here for you, and you can get rolling on beating them.
Sure.
And then I have a quiz for Julie. Julie, do you think a pumpkin is a fruit or a vegetable?
Now, I'm thinking right now about this, and I'm thinking it's a vegetable because it grows from the ground.
Okay, so Jules thinks it's a vegetable. We do know that it is a winter squash. And, drum roll please, it is a fruit.
Oh, shit.
Pumpkin is a fruit. So pumpkin contains seeds, which classify it as a fruit. So what else do we want to know about pumpkin? About a cup of pumpkin has 49 calories in it, 2 grams of protein, and 3 grams of fiber. We know that it is recommended to have 25 to 35 grams of fiber a day. This comes in the form of soluble and insoluble fiber. Insoluble fiber is good for keeping us regular, and soluble fiber is good at lowering cholesterol levels. So very handy to have in our diet. Pumpkin is high in fiber, and it's a source of both soluble and insoluble fiber. So we also know that soluble fiber, when we eat it, keeps us fuller for longer periods of time,
Yes.
and therefore can actually help with weight loss and blood sugar control. So
Yeah.
this is a handy food, that's for sure. And pumpkin seeds, so when you're carving your pumpkin this year, if you want to take out the seeds like we do every year, and we mix them with a little bit of oil, a little bit of salt, and then we roast them in the oven.
And they're extra crispy.
And so we like them extra crispy. Pumpkin seeds are a good source of protein and a good source of iron. So excellent nutrients in pumpkin.
Yeah.
So let's continue on here. So now we've beaten our eggs until they're frothy. We're going to add the oil, water to them. Okay, so I'm going to take the oil. We're going to add that to the eggs, and then we are going to add 2/3 of a cup of water. So I'm just going to grab that because I needed my liquid measure.
And that was 1 cup of oil we put in.
Okay, and now 2/3 of a cup of water, and Julie's going to beat it. Thank you, Jels. And that is done. Now we mix in our 2 cups of pumpkin. You can get a spoon. Okay, ready? Stop for a sec. Thank you. And we're going to mix in our 2 cups of pumpkin. This pumpkin smells so good.
It does.
Smells so good. Excellent. Thank you. You'll notice the rich color of a pumpkin, the rich orange. So that always signifies to us that it's high in potassium. And we know that potassium is beneficial for lowering blood pressure. So another really healthy point about pumpkin.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to mix that up. And then we're going to sift together our dry ingredients and add it to this. So I'm going to get out my other bowl. So Jules, we're all done with that, I think. And we're going to just shift that along. Yeah, just move it right down there. Oh yeah, show everybody what it looks like. Good job. And then we are going to get Okay, so I'm just gonna get my cup measures here, and we need 3 1/4 cups of flour. So we're just gonna go, I'll just do this quick, Jess. 1, do you wanna get the whisk, and then we can whisk it up to sift it?
Yes.
So 3 1/4 cups. So I've got a half cup measure here, so I'm just gonna do half of it. And then I need to that 3 cups of sugar. So I'm just gonna put these. So I like to keep my sugar and flour in sealed containers. We don't have gluten-containing flour in our house anyways, so it's not such a concern. But I just like to keep it fresher for longer, and a little bit cleaner, I guess. So 1, 2, 3 cups of sugar. Do you want to whisk that all around, Jules?
Yeah.
Thank you. We also want to whisk in our salt and our spices. So I've actually mixed all of our spices together. So that was cinnamon, nutmeg, cloves, ginger, and salt. And I've already just gone ahead and mixed it all together. Oh, and it smells like,
oh my goodness.
It smells like the fall, doesn't it?
It does.
So I'm just gonna mix those in, and then Jules can get those mixed all up.
For some reason, that reminds me of going into a Halloween costume store.
It smells like a Halloween store, that's why. It smells just like a Halloween store. It smells like a Halloween or like a fall candle, or
it does.
a cozy night.
How much of each spice?
Okay, so now we need 2 teaspoons of baking soda. So I'm gonna add 2 teaspoons of baking soda into that.
And how much of each spice did you put in?
So I used 1 1/2 teaspoons of cinnamon, 1 1/2 teaspoons of nutmeg, 1 teaspoon each of cloves and ginger.
Nice.
And now I'm adding 2 teaspoons of baking soda.
Perfect.
1,
Looks very good.
2, and then we're gonna get that all fluffy. All right. Do you want me to get in there and just do one really good one? Do you want to put the lid on the sugar and get that out of the way so we can bring in our pans? All right, so that looks actually really good, Jules. You did a great job. Okay, so now we are going to add the above mixture, so our mixture that we just made, to our dry mixture.
So we have
our liquid, and we're gonna mix it right in. So Jules, I'm gonna grab a spoon, and you can just go ahead and pour that whole thing in.
Pouring the pumpkin in the dry.
Super. Oh, it's so yummy. I'll just scrape this out.
That's very satisfying.
What are you going out as for Halloween this year, Julie?
I'm still not for sure, but I'm thinking of going out with as a genie and have these cool little jewels all over my face or something.
Ah, sounds cool.
I don't know so far yet, though.
So last year, the girls, so as many of you know, I've got 3 daughters, and last year they all went out as bumblebees, and they were so cute.
Yeah.
So we'll see what you're gonna go out as this year.
Yeah.
But my 3 little bumblebees were adorable last year, I must say. Okay, so now we're just gonna carefully kind of fold all this together and make sure it's all good. Now, Julie, you'll be happy to know this year, in the newsletter that we're making this video for, there's going to be a gluten-free Halloween candy list. So you can find that candy list on our website, and it will be in this newsletter as well. So you'll be able to know what you can trade with your sister and what you can keep.
Yeah.
What's safe and what's not. Or if somebody says to you, what would you like from the candy bowl?
Yeah.
You know what you can have. I mean, you're pretty good. You've had celiac disease for 6 years, so you're pretty well versed in what candies you can have and which one you can't.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a favorite?
Yes, my all-time favorite go-to is Reese's Pieces.
Reese's
They are the best.
My family has an affinity towards peanut butter, peanut butter candy. So like peanut butter cups and all that kind of stuff. So it's a good thing that those ones are gluten-free, that's for sure.
There's these M&Ms, and they do have a nut inside them, but they're not covered in peanut butter, and they're so good.
Yes.
But those are usually Halloween candy.
Yeah, they're not. It's not so typical, are they?
I also love the Aero bars.
You love Aero bars as well. Yes. So we always have a big candy trade on our floor because 2 of our daughters are not celiac, and Julie is. So one of them this year, Sophie, she's just going to be old enough, I think, to go out for a little bit longer this year. So we always have a big candy trade on the floor. So Julie gets to trade away her gluten-containing candies for other people's gluten-free ones. So it works out really, really well.
Sometimes I used to give it to my dentist and he'd pay me for it.
Well, yeah. That was always good, and then we could always donate that money to charity. Yeah. Or save it up for something you were really excited about. Okay, so I think our mixture is done. If we can show you kind of it's looking and smelling absolutely heavenly. So what I'm gonna do next is take our 2 loaf pans, and I've got them lined with parchment. But what I'm gonna say as well is, if you want those mini loaf pans, you can also make these in mini loaf pans, and they're great for lunches. This is always good for the freezer. This makes 2 loaves, this recipe, and it's great to put one in the freezer and keep one out. You can also make these as mini muffins, you can make them as regular muffins, or you can make them as the loaf pan. So I like to make this as a loaf because I like to slice it and put a little bit of butter on it or margarine on it, and it's so yummy. So good. We are going to, this is always a bit of the tricky part, we are going to dump these in. And I will point out too, we had freshly washed hands right before this. So Jules, do you want to just... And we have preheated our oven, I'll point out right now, to 350 degrees. And these are going to bake for about an hour. And of course, you're going to test it with a toothpick and see if it comes out clean to make sure that it's cooked all the way through. Loaves can always be a little bit tricky. They can be cooked around the edges, but the middle can sometimes sink once you take them out. So do make sure that this is cooked well. I've had that happen with me with banana breads before, where I think it's done, and then you bring it out of the oven, and as it cools, it sinks in the middle. And that's always a huge disappointment when it comes to a loaf. So we are gonna aim for that not to happen for these ones. All right, so I'm gonna make that a smooth on top and put it like this. These would go great with, you can even have this loaf for breakfast. A cup of coffee and some pumpkin loaf, delicious. I'm just gonna trim that down.
Great.
And then you can see them.
Well, what came to my mind was pumpkin carving right now.
Pumpkin carving. How are we going to carve our pumpkins this year?
I'm thinking of doing Dory from Finding Nemo.
Awesome.
I love Dory so much. She's one of my favorite characters. I went out as Dory for Halloween once.
Yes, Julie did.
It's a good costume because the one I had, it got long sleeves, so it was extra nice and warm for the long night ahead.
Yes, in Canada we always have to be aware of Halloween costumes and keeping us warm. In Vancouver in particular, we have to watch for the rain.
Yes.
I know in a lot of parts of Canada it's more about the cold, but here in Vancouver it's more about keeping dry. Yeah. So a costume with a good umbrella would always be good.
Yeah.
Maybe we could go as Mary Poppins one year and carry an umbrella. Okay, so we are now done with our pumpkin loaves. So we're going to pop these in the oven, 350 for an hour, and then we're going to bring them out and we're going to enjoy them. So we'll see you in an hour.
Thank you. Bye.
I've just taken one of the loaves out of the oven and I'm just pressing it to see if it bounces back. Because with loaves, you know in the middle, if it doesn't bounce back, that it's probably not cooked through. So I'm just going to put this in, and that has come out beautifully clean. So I would say this one is done. This one's done. Okay, both of the loaves are now out of the oven and on the drying rack. They took about, one of them took 68 minutes and the other one took about 72 minutes. So a little bit longer than anticipated according to the recipe. So enjoy. I will show you what it looks like when they're a bit cooler and sliced into and we're enjoying our first bite. Cannot wait. Okay, and we're ready to try it. So I'm just gonna take my bread knife. Ooh, it looks beautiful. My kids have gone out for play dates, so they're not, so see how it looks inside? There's no darker part in the middle, which would kind of indicate that it wasn't cooked properly. So I'm just gonna cut it up into some slices here. And I'm gonna try this a little bit right here. Bon appetit, enjoy your pumpkin bread. Thanks for watching.